Hi, I'm Eric Claiborne, and in this short presentation, I'm going to reveal a controversial lazy man secret that may force your body to reverse and even diminish lack of energy, poor blood circulation, sleeping problems while strengthening your immune system as well. By using an ancient technique that's been used for thousands of years by villagers in rural China, something called blood flow manipulation, allowing you to possibly relax your blood vessels, nerves, and muscles to help the body move more freely, no matter if you aren't in top shape or the best of health, and doing it all without any expensive pills, any complicated diets, or tiresome physical exercises. And that's now been studied by researchers at Harvard and other top universities around the world, who gather more and more evidence, building a compelling case for this ancient technique, which can help you strengthen your immune system, regulate your blood pressure, improve balance and flexibility, while helping you maintain a healthy weight. If this sounds hard to believe, I completely understand. Trust me, I was always the last person on earth to believe in Eastern medicine or healing, and I was absolutely shocked when I started using these strange and ancient techniques and found that I could get more energetic and alert as if I just slept for 5 hours in just doing this from the very comfort of my home. Plus, I was able to reap the same aging young benefits as these rural Chinese had. Now I seem to look physically younger, just like they do, and I even feel much younger, and I'm not alone. In fact, over 21,460 people, just like you, have applied this same secret I'm about to share with you inside this presentation and used it to reinvigorate themselves with incredible results, allowing them to experience a new sense of confidence and freedom, just like Timothy Koski from Fairfield, California did. He writes, "Just the thought of going to the gym after work, going to a social event, or even going to see my kids and grandkids used to make me feel tired and exhausted. My health was just ruining my life. But now that I've used what I learned in your presentation, I not only feel younger, but I look younger too. My cholesterol levels and blood pressure have also dropped significantly, which was totally unexpected." And Nick Risso from Chicago, Illinois, he writes, "I was skeptical when I first came across your presentation, especially since nothing I've tried ever seemed to work for me. I mean, I've had a weak immune system for decades. I was constantly worried about catching another fever or flu, and it sure felt like I was aging fast. I mean, not only was I feeling older, but I was looking like it too. And no matter what I did, I just couldn't get any of this under control. I felt trapped and I felt like a huge burden. Well, what you shared in your presentation gave me my life back. I followed the simple steps to strengthen my immune system, and now my family can barely keep up with me. But perhaps the best part is that I'm starting to look and feel years younger. Thank you for saving my life." Those are just a few of the success stories I hear every day from people who've turned their lives completely around, going from feeble, sick, or even bedridden to becoming once again healthy and filled with youthful energy. Now, I'll show you all the modern science and research on what I've discovered, which explains why these natural, medication-free techniques work, and how to get the maximum results from them. But first, it's important for me to tell you more about who I am and how I came across this life-changing secret that may naturally lower your blood pressure while helping your body and immune system in the fight against the ravishing effects of aging. So, like I said, my name is Eric Claiborne. I'm 59 years old and I live just outside of Lawrence, Massachusetts. And about 2 years ago, I was offered the opportunity of a lifetime. You see, I've been a freelance travel writer for nearly 40 years now, so I'm speaking from personal experience when I say that my type of work isn't always steady. But you can just imagine how ecstatic I felt when I was offered an advance of $68,000 by a major publication just to do what I loved the most. The offer was to travel to China for a few months and write about life in rural villages. And although I didn't speak Mandarin very fluently, I was still ecstatic that I got this amazing opportunity and amazing pay to go along with it. But there was just one problem. I wasn't exactly the healthiest person around. Heck, I was probably near the bottom of the barrel of health now that I stop and think about it. For years, I was a major insomniac, and with that came the feeling of low energy pretty much all the time, and I was constantly feeling irritable and moody. No matter what I tried, diet, exercise, pills, nothing seemed to work for any of this. It also felt like my immune system was on its last leg, getting colds and fevers left and right, depending on things like Dayquil and Tylenol to keep me going. And you'd never see me without a box of tissues lying around. I also had on and off bouts of brain fog to boot, being unable to focus, forgetting things, getting easily confused. I was even worried that I was on the brink of developing something like dementia or Alzheimer's, and I really had no idea what was causing all of this. But despite all these obstacles, I was still able to lead a successful career. And I'm not the type to let something like a fever or lack of sleep slow me down. So my health issues weren't going to stop me from the opportunity I was given to visit China. So I sucked it up like a man and decided to press on forward. And as soon as I touched down in Shanghai, it was time to get to work. I first traveled to the rural villages of Tongxi, and then took a private vehicle to Wuyuan. And I began conducting some interviews with all the locals, using translators along with whatever Mandarin I was able to speak. Well, it was pretty fascinating hearing from all these villages about what life in rural China was like. But what ended up being by far the most shocking thing I learned had nothing to do with what they actually told me, but rather what I observed with my own two eyes. You see, there was a recurring trend in these villages. Families regularly consisted of not just grandparents, but even great-grandparents as well. In fact, I got so accustomed to meeting men and women who were in their late 90s that it just somehow became the norm. But what was so surprising to me wasn't just that all of these men and women were living to such a ripe old age, but that they routinely looked like they were 20, even 30 years younger than they actually were. Now, you may not think that this is that big of a deal, but keep in mind that many of the rural Chinese don't have access to even the most essential or basic medical care. It's even estimated that 80% of health and medical services are concentrated in China's urban cities, which means that timely medical care isn't available to over 100 million people in rural areas. On top of that, I also learned the rural Chinese definitely don't have it easy in their day-to-day lives. And in my eyes, their conditions should be making them even more prone to aging and disease. I mean, a typical farmer works long hours on a daily basis, grows rice, corn, and vegetables on about a half-acre of land, and has very little income to support themselves with. They even live in simple wooden houses, use outhouses for their bathrooms, and they cook in shacks over open fireplaces. So, with all of that being said, you can probably understand why it was a great mystery to me that they're living so much longer than people in the U.S., and why it didn't seem to make sense that all of those ancient Chinese villagers look younger than most 55-year-olds here in the States. Well, these questions continued to nag me every single day as I was visiting these rural villages. But it wasn't until I made my way to a village called Shidi next to Nanping Village that I finally got the answers I was looking for. It happened as I was conducting an interview inside the home of one of the village's most respected families. We were talking about their culture, their life, etc., when I heard something pretty unusual. There were these weird noises and breathing sounds coming from the back of the house. Out of fear of being disrespectful to these elders, I kept talking and tried to ignore the sounds. But the noises simply wouldn't go away, and they were pretty distracting. So, once there was a lull in the conversation, I simply asked if they were hearing the same noise I was. And all they told me was that it was the great-grandfather, Bao, doing his exercise routine. Now, as a travel writer, I'm up for exploring anything that piques my interest, especially something that has to do with exercise in a village where there were no weights, no treadmills, no workout equipment whatsoever.